Hi everybody, Mark Michaels here. I'm here today with a board of people to talk to you about sudden cardiac arrest. Over 1,000 cases a day in America, 90% fatality rate. That's a pretty significant number. So I'm here today, I'm joined with Miss Lindy Burch, Miss Sandra McBride, Miss Erin Trewilliger, and Frank Mannino. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Sandra, tell us a little bit about the AED. What is an AED?
An AED is a device that can shock the heart back into a normal rhythm. And there's two different kinds of things that can happen to your heart. You can have what we all call a heart attack, which is actually a blockage in an artery. We don't use AEDs for that. A sudden cardiac arrest is actually when you have an arrhythmia, which means an interruption of your normal rhythm of your heart. It can make it go extremely fast, where it doesn't pump correctly, or it can make it basically quiver and not pump at all. And the AED can shock the heart back into a normal rhythm. Okay.
These are machines we often see hanging up at airports or public facilities. And what you're looking to do is bring those to the cuttings.
Yes, we want to have them at all cuttings, if it were possible, to all weekend cuttings and aged events.
Yeah. Lindy, tell us a little bit about why this is important to you. You've seen some cases of this at cuttings. You've been there. You've actually saved a life. Tell us a little bit about why this is, it means so much to you.
Well, it's much too common, just like you said, 1,000 a day. In cardiac arrest, we see it way too many times, and sometimes it doesn't always turn out well because there isn't adequate help. There isn't somebody that is CPR certified, or there isn't an AED available. And stemming back to like 2006, there was an incident with Mark Holler in Las Vegas, and I just spoke to him a minute ago, and he reminded me that he, healthy guy in his 50s, collapsed off a horse. They ran to him, started CPR immediately, and but no response. Finally, an AED arrived through because there just happened to be some EMTs there at the casino, and they heard about it and ran over, brought their machine, and it took them. And there was a doctor in the house. The doctor came down, a cutting friend of ours, and shocked him twice. No response. He said, "I just shocked you again for the heck of it because I had it," and he popped up. So without the AED, he's a goner.
Yeah.
And then the personal experience I had with Neil Masalam at the Fort Worth Stock Show in 2007 was similar. He went off a horse right after he showed it. Healthy guy. I immediately started CPR on him. I'm not sure how long, but a good 10-15 minutes. We still didn't have any other help, any other first aid or EMTs arrive. At the last possible moment, I didn't think his color was getting worse, no response. I reared back and really hit him a couple times in the sternum as hard as I could, and he popped up. Yeah. So we had no AED, and luckily he made it, and then subsequently went to the hospital. But there's been, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 incidences that we can recall, and the main problem that Sandra and I have addressed is that, one, there are no AEDs available, and it's a proven fact that with an AED, the rate of recovery or success is much better than it is without, number one. And number two, what the doctors told Neil and told me at the time after he had to have a pacemaker put in, was that the best thing that I did was act. And most people are reluctant to act and try to help somebody in trouble like that. And with this program now and with AEDs, as we'll see later in the interview, how easy they are to use, they're really dummy-proof. And most of our weekend cuttings are just that. They're out in the country. Hospitals aren't close. Ambulances aren't close. And many times it's really hard to even find that branch where the cutting is being held. So it just makes sense to us that we provide that AED at that show with those secretaries, and then along with that, somebody that's CPR certified that's willing to try to save a life.
Well, and that's the other important part to this, is the CPR part. It's not that hard to learn. And you know, a lot of us actually did it as kids. Like you and I were talking earlier. I've done it before, as you know, when I was life-saving as a kid. You've done it, and that's actually helped you. You've kept up with your training and saved some lives with it now.
Right, and you know, we had the Tim Berry incident in the middle of the Will Rogers Arena. Luckily, Priscilla Rothwell was in attendance, who's an ER nurse, and I ran to get the AED from the care flight lady that was in the stands. Brought it back, and she was already doing CPR. Then I took over doing the CPR until she got the machine regulated or ready to go. We stood back, she hit him, boom, he was up.
Yeah.
But a lot of times without the AED, you have no response. The most recent example with Jason Clark in Paradise is Katie Bell and another lady worked on Jason, 45 minutes?
40 is what.
40 minutes and no response. But they would not give up, thank the Lord, and they kept going, and finally, you know, they
What time for the EMTs to get there and
took 45 minutes, but no response.
Yeah.
So they just kept at it.
Yeah.
And they put the AED on him, and boom, he was up.
Yeah.
So they definitely saved that life. So the CPR is hand in hand with the AED.
Yeah. So Erin, you're an NCHA member, an RN nurse. You're obviously familiar with the CPR training and everything else, and with the AEDs, you've seen them used in action. How important, or what do you feel is the benefit to having these at a cutting?
It is extremely beneficial having AEDs at NCHA cuttings. As Lindy and Sandra have noted, AEDs complement CPR, and having that AED is crucial. An AED in CPR is not only for our older generation and population, but a CPR or a cardiac event can happen in any population for an unknown condition that one of our members may have that we don't know about. And so having this device available to complement will definitely save lives. Based on CDC reports, more than 350,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests are reported annually in the United States. A recent study published in the Journal of American College of Cardiology showed that improved implementation by bystander CPR and public AED use, there was a significant improvement in the survival to hospital discharge from 23.8% in 2005 to 66.7% in 2018. So I really think that statistic is very powerful in what that means in having an AED at these cuttings.
Well, and I think the more people with the tools to help save those lives with CPR, to give those people a chance, if there is an AED machine available, or to come fairly quickly, it increases the chance of survival, obviously. So,
and also having the education of where it is and where it's located.
Well, that's huge. And Lindy and I were talking, and not to call out Will Rogers' facility here, but we didn't know there is one here, but we didn't know where it was. And then Lindy found out it is outside in the foyer out there by the meeting rooms out there.
A long ways away from
and the lobby in Will Rogers. There's one.
And the problem is, timing is the issue. I mean, you need to act now and act quickly and have that available, and instead of running around trying to figure out if we even have one where it is. So that's what we want to change. We want to have it right there.
Yeah, and these machines, I mean, they're very easy to use, as we're going to see here in a little while. Frank's going to demonstrate that, but still knowing, at least, knowing the procedure it'll refresh your memory as you start using it, because it basically tells you what to do, but not having to worry about, well, how does this thing work, and right. So just educating people and putting them in a position to save a life, I think, is key. Sandra, tell us, you're married to a doctor. You're very passionate about this, obviously. Tell us a little about what you're trying to do to put these AEDs, in cuttings all over the country.
Okay, well, the idea is to provide an AED for every secretary who is willing to be responsible for it and get CPR trained, and not just make the secretary responsible, but enlist other affiliate members or officers to also get trained. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, we as members of the NCHA have to donate money. That's the only way we can make this happen. Yeah. And we are going to also provide CPR training for those individuals. We want to pay for that as well.
Yeah.
But we want to encourage any member to get CPR trained. You'll be able to do it through our program and just pay your cost for that as well.
What's the cost involved with getting one of these AEDs?
Each device is going to cost us right around $1,650. And after we have raised the money for all of the devices that have been spoken for, we'll ship them to the different secretaries who are CPR certified. The training for CPR is a separate fundraising process. It will be through donations from to Horsemen for Christ, and that's in the range of $5,000 to $7,000, we believe, for the secretaries.
And how is that going to work with the CPR training? Is that an online course?
Well, there are different options. You can do an online course, a blended training, where you beforehand do an interactive online course, and then at the convention we're going to have the skills test check-off available. It's on Saturday the 4th of June, and it's 3 to 4:30, but you will have already needed to do your online portion. And the other option for those who cannot come to the convention is a complete virtual training. Then you have to do your skill check-off through a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
We also are planning to have training in the summer, and maybe an in-person training as well as the blended and the skill check during the summer show.
Okay. Lindy, you've been talking with the youth and with the youth director, with Mike Simmons. Tell us what's going to be happening there with the youth at the Summer Spectacular, the Youth World Show.
Well, it's pretty exciting because, we have such a great youth bunch, and they want to, Mike Simmons and Amy Lippincott, the chair, think it's a fabulous idea to get the youth involved. And so what we'd like to do is certify as many as we can during the Summer Spectacular and the Youth World Show. And also, they're very tech savvy kids, obviously, and
I got my son working for me, and I realize now how much I didn't know.
yeah, don't we all? But they're very excited about this, and they're going to be able to earn LEAP points within their association to do this, and what a great skill to have. I was first certified like when I was 12 years old, and then as a lifeguard, and just kept it up all through my life. But these kids, no matter, they may use it. They may use it at school one day, or they may need to save their grandmother, or they may save their brother, and so they're excited about, and it looks to me like we're going to have really almost everybody that can be certified.
Well, and that's the other thing that we haven't mentioned yet is typically with sudden cardiac arrest, we think of seniors, of elderly people, but this affects kids just as much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's very important for the kids to get involved, and have that ability, or at least that knowledge, to be able to step in and jump in, if the situation, heaven forbid, arises where they could save maybe one of their fellow youth's lives.
Right, and Sandra and I have talked about this a lot. We're not trying to put more responsibility on the secretaries. We just think that that's a great place to start as far as somebody that will take care of the unit and always have it at the show. But we're encouraging anybody in that affiliate, or anybody, to get CPR certified. I mean, who wouldn't want that skill in today's world, to be able to have it and possibly save somebody's life?
Well, Frank Mannino, you've been sitting over there patiently waiting for your turn. You're with Cardio Partners. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Cardio Partners is a nationwide CPR training company. We're the largest CPR training company in the country for the American Red Cross, and we're also amongst the largest AED distributors in the country. Some of our websites are AED.com and AED Superstore, just to give you an idea of our company. So yeah, we specialize in anything AEDs, emergency response. We do supply every single AED in the market. And we, of course, train anyone with CPR, BLS, everyone from pharmacists to LAE rescues, which is what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah. Are these getting more and more common at sporting events or associations?
Yeah, absolutely. They're getting more common everywhere. You mentioned earlier, you see them at airports. Yeah. There's more and more states that are requiring schools to have them. And then in the retail industry, which is kind of our niche, we're helping some of the biggest Fortune 10 or Fortune 100 companies, especially in the retail industry, get these AEDs out there. So if you start looking at some of your retail stores, you'll start seeing these as well.
So for people that don't know, what is the liability with using one of these? I mean, is somebody going to be responsible if you don't save a life with it, or how does that work?
Well, this is a good time to talk about the Good Samaritan Law. I'm sure everyone's heard of the Good Samaritan Law, and sure, they vary from state to state. And I'm not here to give legal advice, so I do recommend, if you're curious about your state's Good Samaritan Law in detail, I do encourage you to look it up and research it. However, generally speaking, the Good Samaritan laws do exist to protect you as an individual that is not a trained medical professional to aid someone in an emergency situation when they need it. So in terms of CPR, that person's not going to be responsive. They won't be able to answer you that they need help. So it's very clear, and you talk a lot about this in training, that this person needs your help. Their chance of survival really does depend on you. So the Good Samaritan Law is there to protect you as an individual because you're voluntarily offering your aid. So in that case, you want to make sure that you do the right thing and help this person. In the end of the day, one important thing to consider is your job as a lay rescuer is to help this person, help this individual, and protect them and try to save them or keep them safe until the trained professionals arrive.
Yeah. So ultimately, I mean, these people are the last line of defense or last, resort. They're not going to jump in line in front of a doctor, obviously, but to have this training and have this ability to save a life, I mean, it is life-changing, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. In the end of the day, training, I started in this world as an instructor, and one important thing in my training was always to make sure people understand that in the end of the day, what you're learning is extremely important, of course, but it's to empower you, to make you feel comfortable and understand that you can save a life. A lot of people, they go into a class thinking that there's going to be a lot to it and maybe they're not cut out for it, but in the end of the day, doing something, anything at all, even if you forgot every single intricate detail of your CPR class, doing something is better than doing nothing at all. So training is more about, to me, it's more important about really feeling confident and comfortable that you can help.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we're here today, because it is a relevant subject. And Sandra, in your research, I mean, you've come up with about 17 cases that you know of since 1980s where this has affected somebody within our cutting horse family, at a show or indirectly, related to that. So that's why we're here today. It is very important. Frank, talk to us a little bit about the Lifeshield program. What is that?
Yeah, so part of the programs that we put together for any of our customers really, but for the NCHA, what was important is to make sure that anyone that has these AEDs feels comfortable that they're protected. So there are AED laws, local, sometimes in the city or county base. Most of them are state, and there are FDA rules, and even the manufacturer has guidelines. It seems complicated, but what Lifeshield does is it protects you. For anyone that has these AEDs and is handling the AEDs, all of that is covered for you. Cardio Partners will take care of all the liability and the compliance aspects of it that really, without it, you may be responsible for. In the end of the day, anyone that has this AED with the Lifeshield program, all we're asking you to do is just keep an eye on it, check to make sure that the green check mark is on there, because the AED is doing self-tests. It knows when it is functional. It knows when the pads are going to be okay to use. It knows when your batteries are fully powered. So the AED is very smart. It knows when it's doing well. So all we're asking you to do is just to be on the safe side, just put your eyes on it once a month and just register that inspection, and the rest we have you covered.
Okay. So Sandra, how much money are you looking to raise for this project to be able to put all these AEDs out, at all the shows or with the show producers?
Well, as it stands right now, I have 38 commitments, and that comes to around $65,000. But I expect as people learn this information and what we're trying to do, there will be more come on board. So we already have a fundraising site set up. It's through a nonprofit called Simon's Heart, and you can access our donation program by going to gotaed.org.
Or click the QR code that you see right here on the screen.
And you can donate right then. and it is tax deductible. And for the training, though, the CPR training, the donations are going to go through Horsemen for Christ.
Okay.
And that is also tax deductible.
Okay, so that's two ways to donate, and obviously Horsemen for Christ is very involved with this and helping you, and they see the need as well. So be sure and check that out. We're going to have links at the end of this video, and also feel free to contact Sandra or Lindy or anybody, one of us, and we'll be able to help you get started with that. You're also going to have a meeting here during the Super Stakes,
Yes.
April 9th?
Yes, next Saturday, April 9th, we're going to have a meeting. Frank is going to come back and he's going to actually do a demonstration of the AED, how easy it is to use. So if you're wondering if it's for you and is it really that complicated, come and find out. It's April 9th at 11 a.m. in the John Justin Sale Arena.
Okay. And if you see this flyer here, there's one up here in the exhibition hall as you walk in. It's got all the information on there, so you can go to that, find out more about it as well. So hopefully, come out, come to the meeting, come ask questions, come see for yourself how easy this is to use. We're going to also include a little demonstration with Frank here in just a little bit, and you can learn more about it. Well, I want to thank you all for coming out today and explaining, and I feel enlightened, and I'm excited because I actually want to get one of these and take it to the cutting since we go to so many cuttings. I want to try to do my part since we're there anyway, and have one of these AED machines available for people to use there. So I want to thank you all very much for coming out today.
And thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
So I just want to do a quick demonstration, and what's important is not only to understand how easy it is to maintain this AED, for anyone that is going to have this AED in their possession, but of course, while we're at it, let's talk about how to actually use it. God forbid we go to use this in an event. I want to make sure you understand how easy it is to use. So today what I'm demonstrating is the Zoll AED Plus. It's one of the most famous, most popular AEDs out there in the market, and for good reasons. For the AED acquirers, for those responsible for maintaining the AED, I wanted to just bring attention to this green check mark. When you have this AED in your possession, just make sure that green check mark is there, okay? The AED itself is doing its own self-test once a week. It is checking the pads, it's checking the batteries and its internal circuitry. And that green check mark is its way of letting you know, I'm good to go, okay? If you ever see a red X, troubleshoot, look at the pad expiration date, or call Cardio Partners and we'll walk you through it. Now, the good thing to know as well, one reason why this is such a great AED to have for NCHA members and affiliates and secretaries is that the pads and batteries don't expire, but for once every 5 years. Okay, it's the only AED that has that. So really, you're not going to be responsible for replacing any of the accessories, but for every 5 years or when the AED is used. Now, the goal for any AED program is to have this life-saving piece of equipment in your possession, hopefully never use it. But of course, if we ever do have the chance to use it, let's talk about what that looks like. So first thing first, of course, you want to check for responsiveness. Hey, you okay? You okay? What's going on? If the person's not responsive, the immediate response should be that this is a serious emergency. We don't know what's going on with this person yet, and really, we don't have the equipment to find out. So in the end of the day, this person's not responsive. Your immediate thought should be, this is a serious emergency. I need to have EMTs on the way. So call 911. If there's other people around, make sure that someone else calls 911, okay? You go call 911 and make sure they know where we are and walk them to this exact position, okay? You go grab the AED. If you don't have the AED around, make sure someone goes and grabs it for you, okay? While the AED is being retrieved, if the AED is nowhere near you, start CPR right away. The best way to know if someone needs CPR, if they're not responsive, is by doing one compression, okay? If they do one compression, this person doesn't respond, continue. In training, you will get much more into detail on this. For now, I'm just gonna jump right to the AED. So the AED arrived, okay? There are several different types of AEDs in this country. They all look different. They all may work slightly different. But in the end of the day, there are two main things I want you to remember. No matter what AED arrives, no matter what it looks like, even if you've been trained with it or not, remember two things. turn it on, and listen, okay? So this is the Xol AED Plus. The on button is right here.
Adult pads. Unit okay.
Okay, what I'm going to show you here.
Stay calm. Check responsiveness. Call for help.
I'm not sure if you can tell in the video, but it's very loud,
Attach
okay?
defib pads
So
to patient's bare chest.
this will walk you through step by step. There are visuals here, but in the end of the day, again, every AED will speak to you. So listen and follow directions.
Attach defib pads to patient's bare chest.
Okay? Simple. These are the pads. So we're just going to go ahead and attach them. This AED in particular is a little unique. It has this Z-shaped
Attach
pads.
defib pads
Okay?
to patient's bare chest.
It is all connected. Again, don't be discouraged if you see pads that are separated. Just listen and follow directions. There's pictures on the pads. There are pictures on the AED. Just go through the steps. Okay, but in this case,
Attach defib pads to patient's bare
just going to
chest.
go ahead and peel and place the pads on the chest. Okay, and I'm going to plug in the simulator, but this is not.
Attach defib pads to patient's bare chest.
You'll notice that the AED repeats
Don't touch
itself.
patient. Analyzing.
Stand back.
Don't touch patient. Analyzing. Shock advised. Don't touch patient. Press flashing shock button.
So we will be getting automatic defibrillators. So this part may
Shock
not be
delivered. Start CPR.
Okay, so from here, this AED tells you to start CPR. One major advantage is that this AED actually knows your
Start
CPR.
CPR.
So as I do compressions, you're going to notice that the AED will start beeping. Okay, that is because it is actually coaching you through CPR. And it will give some corrective measures.
Push harder.
Okay, so push harder. Okay, so let's see if I can get,
Good compression.
okay. So this AED really likes how I'm doing compressions, okay? In training, you will go much further and deeper into this instructions, but just know this AED has real CPR feedback, which means as you're doing CPR, it will not only tell you what to do, but if there are a few corrective instances where it can,
Continue CPR.
and continue CPR. So if it has the opportunity to help you actually perform quality CPR, it has that embedded in this AED as well. Just remember, you are a lay rescuer, which means you are performing CPR and you are using an AED until the trained medical professionals arrive, until the EMS arrives, okay? So continue doing CPR. When the AED tells you that it's analyzing the heart rhythm, stop, let it shock if it needs a shock, and if the AED tells you to start CPR, whether a shock is done or not, always continue doing CPR until the EMTs arrive. As soon as the EMTs arrive, let them take over. In terms of post-event, the pads are used and they are one-time use, so we do need to replace them. The AED does track and maintain this data of this cardio event in the unit. So we will maintain that for you. You will have instructions when the AED is used on how to send this AED to cardio partners, and we'll take care of it from there. So just understand that what I did here was just a very quick, brief instruction of how this particular AED works and maybe a little bit about how to do CPR. CPR training is critically important. In CPR training, you learn about what the signs of cardiac arrest are, how to act in detail, and you will have practice. You will have a mannequin in front of you just like this, where you will have a chance in front of an instructor to show your skills and really learn how to perform CPR. I can't state enough how critically important sitting through a CPR training class is. Even the online portion of the class now is extremely interactive, and it's very well done video by the Red Cross, so you will learn. I highly encourage anyone to go out and get CPR certified, especially since it's being offered through this program. Get CPR certified. One critical thing that I feel necessary to keep remind you is that cardiac arrest happens in the home more often than it does out in public. So even if you think, you may agree this is important for these the events that you attend, but just remember, this is also important for you and your family. Get CPR certified, learn what to do, and again, anytime you have a chance to help someone in need, doing something, even if that one thing is calling 911, is extremely important.